Now, if you might want to be funny like Rats, or you might want to be funny like this guy who's going to tell you his top 5 tips on being funny, Lenny Henry.
My name is Lenny Henry, and I'm a comedian. I first realised I wanted to be a comedian when I went to secondary modern school, and I was in about the 3rd year, and I realised that if you were funny, the girls laughed at you. So I vowed then that I would be the funny guy in the classroom. And I used to get clipped around the ear a lot for it, because teachers don't really like you cracking gags. So I used to save it for the playground and when the teachers were out of the room, and do impersonations of the pop stars of the day. They used to quite like it. When I was getting started, it was weird. Most people think comedians are really unhelpful and miserable, you know, but I found that as a 16-year-old getting into show business, every comedian I worked with wanted to sit me down in the dressing room, make me a cup of tea and give me a bit of advice. So to all the comedians who did that to me, cheers, you were brilliant. And that's people like Aidan J. Harvey, Nicky Martin, Don McLean, Frank Carson, people like Chris Tarrant helped a lot. Wherever I went, people were willing to give me advice, so thanks very much, guys. Timing is really important if you're going to be a comedian. The gaps and the pauses, that's kind of what it's all about, really. It's not what you say, it's when you choose to say it. So remember that. Timing. Timing.
Going to the barber shop with your dad. I mean, that was awful, wasn't it? Look at all the guys there with the oddly cut hair. They're all going, yeah. I mean, I had to go, because he took me because I wasn't going to go on my own. He had to drag me down the street, you know. And I knew it was going to be bad because you get to the building and you'd see all these little kids coming out completely bald with bits of plasters on their heads, carrying pieces of their ears in a polythene bag. So I was being frightened. And he wasn't a real barber anyway. It was a friend of my dad who cut hair.
I was inspired mainly by television, things I'd seen, like there was a brilliant impressionist called Mike Yarwood, who used to do anybody. He could do anybody vocally, and it was perfect. There was also a television program called Who Do You Do, and that featured Freddie Starr and Paul Melba, and impressionists like that, who were incredibly good. As far as double acts were concerned, there was Eric Morecambe, Ernie Wise. A bit later on, I was inspired by a comedian called Richard Pryor and another comedian called Steve Martin, who was a wild and crazy guy. Okay, thank you. I have favourite characters that I've created, but the thing about me is that I kind of like to move on. You know, I loved Delbert.
That's right, that's who you're listening to. Delbert Wilkins on the Brixton Broadcasting Corporation, the BBC. Are you feeling totally spondicious? Well, I'm not, because my one and only 2-litre Ford Wicked has been stolen. Yeah, that's right, Vorsprung durch nicht.
You get to a certain period and you think, well, it's time, I've done that now, I've got to move on. So the next show I do, I'll be doing new characters. It's the way, really. But, you know, some nights I wake up in the middle of the night and just start saying, you know what I mean? I better go downstairs and get aspirin, you know what I'm saying? My head is spinning. Ideas, all that kind of thing. Well, Lord, it's hard to throw that stuff away. But I think, you know, like we saw Smashy and Nicey the other night get, you know, Harry Enfield kind of kill those two guys off. Some characters serve their purpose and then it's time for them to go. I enjoy everything that I do. I enjoy doing chef, I enjoy being a stand-up comedian, and I enjoy doing straight acting. But what I really get a kick out of, I think, is doing stand-up comedy, because with doing sitcom and doing films, you kind of find out that they're funny 6 months later, whereas with stand-up, you know that second, and nothing can beat that buzz, really.
If you want to keep them laughing, stay tuned. Here come my top 5 tips for being a top comedian.
Number 1.
Always use your own catchphrases. Never, ever, ever go on stage and say, yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ben Elton, good night, unless you are indeed the Benster.
Number 2.
You must have good material, both to wear and to say. So A, decide on the style of dress, and B, decide what to say while wearing it.
Number 3.
If possible, and I know this is difficult, but please try and write your own jokes. I mean, even if they're terrible, at least they're yours.
Number 4.
Use every single opportunity to get up and perform, but whatever you do, choose your moment. Don't tell the one about the microwave, the sellotape, and the guinea pig in the middle of assembly. It's just not the done thing.
Number 5.
And finally, once you've got your show together, go out there and perform it. And hey, enjoy it. Because even if the audience throw things at you, remember, that stuff is yours to keep. See ya. Hey! Yeah.
Our thanks to Lenny Henry for being the best top 5 tips I think we've had throughout this entire series.
Hello?
And as he said, timing is everything in
Hello?
comedy.